They don't argue with you. They don't yell. They don't even say much. But somehow, after talking to them, you feel completely drained, like they've sucked the life out of you. Toxic people are everywhere. They could be your coworker, your so-called friend, or even a family member. And no matter what you do, they always find a way to manipulate, guilt trip, or frustrate you. So, how do you deal with them without losing your sanity? Today, we're breaking down 7 clever ways to handle toxic people, backed by psychology and real-life strategies. Let's get into it. First, let's clear something up. You can't change toxic people. You can't make them see reason, and you definitely can't expect them to suddenly become kind. What you can control is how you react to them, and that changes everything. 1. The gray rock method. Imagine someone is trying to get a reaction out of you. They're throwing insults, stirring up drama, or playing the victim. Normally, you'd get frustrated, argue, or try to defend yourself, but instead, you give them nothing. This is called the gray rock method, where you act as boring, emotionless, and uninteresting as a literal rock. Toxic people thrive on reactions, so if you refuse to give them one, they lose interest. For example, if a coworker is trying to push your buttons, you respond with short, dull answers. Okay, interesting. You don't argue, you don't defend, you don't engage, and eventually they get bored and move on. This technique works especially well with narcissists and drama seekers who feed off conflict. 2. Reverse gaslighting. You've heard of gaslighting, where someone makes you question your own reality. But here's something wild. You can flip the script. Let's say a toxic person constantly tells you, you're too sensitive. Instead of defending yourself, you say, you're right, I am sensitive, and that's a good thing. Or if they say, you're always overreacting, you respond with, yep, I'd rather overreact than ignore my emotions. This throws them off because they expect you to get defensive. Instead, you own it, and suddenly they have no power over you. 3. The power of awkward silence. Most toxic people love attention. They thrive on arguments, gossip, and making you feel small. But guess what makes them incredibly uncomfortable? Silence. Next time they try to bait you into drama, just pause and say nothing. Let the silence stretch. It makes them anxious. They'll either start rambling or quickly change the subject. Awkward silence forces them to confront their own words instead of hiding behind manipulation. And more often than not, they'll back off. 4. The fake agreement trick. Some people love to argue for the sake of arguing. You could say the sky is blue, and they'd say, actually, it's more of a light cyan. Instead of getting into pointless debates, try this. Agree with them in the most exaggerated way possible. Example, toxic person. Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was just thinking of writing a book called How to Be the Most Selfish Person Alive. When you agree in an over-the-top way, it disarms them. They don't know how to respond because they were expecting a fight, not sarcasm. This is called agree and amplify, a technique that stops arguments before they even start. 5. The emotional firewall. Think of your emotions like a house. Would you let a toxic person walk right in and trash the place? Probably not. That's why you need an emotional firewall, a mental barrier that blocks negativity before it affects you. How do you build one? Detach emotionally. Don't let their words get to you. Imagine their insults bouncing off you like rubber. Use mental imagery. Picture a glass wall between you and them, where their negativity can't reach you. Remind yourself, this isn't about me. Most toxic people project their own insecurities onto others. Once you master this, you'll stop reacting emotionally. And that's what toxic people hate the most. 6. The NPC treatment. In video games, NPCs, non-employable characters, are background characters with no real impact on the game. And you can do the same with toxic people. Instead of seeing them as important, imagine they're just background noise. Whatever they say, irrelevant. Whatever drama they stir up, doesn't matter. This shifts your mindset. Instead of feeling frustrated, you see them as a minor inconvenience at best. Like a fly buzzing around. You don't argue with a fly, right? You just ignore it or swat it away. The moment you stop giving them importance, they lose their power over you. 7. The exit strategy. Sometimes the best way to deal with toxic people is to not deal with them at all. If someone is constantly draining you, manipulating you, or making you feel miserable, ask yourself, why am I still engaging with them? If it's a toxic friend, slowly distance yourself. If it's a coworker, keep interactions professional and minimal. If it's a family member, set firm boundaries and stick to them. You don't owe anyone your time, energy, or peace of mind. Cutting them off isn't rude, it's necessary. The bottom line, toxic people will always exist, but they only have power over you if you let them. So next time you're dealing with one, remember, stay boring, Grey Rock method. Flip their tactics, reverse gaslighting. Use silence as a weapon. Agree sarcastically to stop arguments. Build an emotional firewall. Treat them like background noise, and if necessary, walk away. Protect your peace, and don't let toxic people rent space in your head for free. Now, before you go, there's one more psychological trick that can help you deal with difficult people even faster. Click the next video to find out.